You're at the supermarket, you buy your groceries, you load up your car, and about 15 steps away from you is the cart corral. Do you return the cart to its zone, or do you just leave it nearby? The shopping cart theory is the ultimate test to know if a person is capable of self-governance. On the other hand, Arc Raiders might just be another video game, a pretty great one at that too, but it runs the exact same test on you every single time you play. And that might be exactly what we need to answer the question: who do you become when there are no rules and no one around to enforce them? Let's talk about it. I just want to make something very clear before we get into this video, because I can see the comments coming. I do not play Arc Raiders, and I think it's a fantastic game. However, this video is not about the game itself, whether it's a good game, whether it's a bad game, the mechanics, none of that. The idea of Arc Raiders and the concept behind it, and more importantly, the way people play this game, is an interesting vehicle to explore a much bigger idea. My name is Tofu, and on this channel, we use gaming as a lens to explore bigger ideas. This channel is what happens when you think deeply about success, money, psychology, and culture, but you also happen to really love video games. So if any of that sounds like a little bit of you, then I would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button and join us on this journey. And please be sure to leave a like on that video, because it's the best and the easiest way for you to support this channel if you love what we're making over here. Now, for anything in this video to make sense, you have to understand the shopping cart theory, and it's a pretty simple theory. The idea is that returning a shopping cart to a designated zone is the ultimate litmus test for a person's morality and their capacity for self-governance. It argues the idea that even though returning the cart to the zone is a completely voluntary action, and it offers no reward and no punishment regardless of what you choose to do, it will reveal to you deep down whether or not someone will choose to do the right thing simply because they can. So this is the kind of behavior that people will display in a situation that has the lowest possible stakes, but is also the highest signal action that a person can take. Now, how this connects to Arc Raiders and gaming as a whole is the idea that in these certain scenarios within these games that we play, nobody tells us what to do. There are no rules that stop us from doing certain things. There are boundaries, and there is the extent of the reality that we are interacting with, but nothing really above that to enforce any kind of real legitimate consequence. And you could think of it as like a simulated scenario. So I like to ponder the idea that the games we play and how we play them are actually a very strong indicator of who we are based on the choices that we make in these situations. Because you get these scenarios within gaming where the stakes are fictional. No matter how tough the game is, no matter what's going on in there, you always have the option of switching off and walking away. So the stakes are almost fictional in that sense, but the decisions we make are very real because it's coming from us and it's coming from a very emotional and thoughtful place. So you still made those decisions, but the simulation and the scenario that you're in doesn't really know that you are acting. And that's why I like to think that Arc Raiders, and specifically the way that people play this game, is a different form of the shopping cart theory. And there's some really interesting pieces of data that we can observe with the way people behave and the choices that they make. So Arc Raiders to me is like a moral simulator. It's a PvPvE extraction shooter in a miniaturized post-apocalyptic society. In this world, the resources are scarce. Your ability to survive comes down to the decisions you make to keep yourself alive, but also to make meaningful progress towards whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. And in this world, the rules are absent, meaning there's no one above you that's going to give you a little slap on the wrist when you've done something wrong. No one's going to give you a golden star for doing the right thing. Every choice you make is simply the choice you made. And that could be the only choice you would have made, or what you think is the right choice to make. And even though this is a little simulated world with simulated environments and the thing works in a specific way, the other survivors in this example are human. These are real people with real feelings on the other end inside this world. So what do you choose to do in these situations? Now, the reason this idea came to be was because every time I open social media and someone's posting about Arc Raiders on a group or somewhere, there's always a big debate between the PvP and the PvE aspect of the game. So there's a division right down the middle between these two types of people. And for a lot of them, it's a playstyle debate, because some people just want to go in there and they want a PvP experience. Some people just want a PvE experience as well. It just depends on who it is, really. However, what I think is interesting about that is it's not actually a play style debate, it's a values debate. Because if you look at what people are saying, it's about working so hard to acquire all of this loot, and then there's just some guy that's camping with nothing in his bag at the extraction point, killing everyone and taking what they've worked for right at the last possible second. It's the idea that people can befriend you and then stab you in the back. And a lot of these posts and what people are saying within this debate is not coming from a gameplay perspective necessarily. It's coming from a personal place. They're deeply hurt by the way you chose to play this game. And it's not how you play that's hurt them. It's the choices you've made and the impact of that choice. Some people go in there and they want to speak to people. They like the idea of being able to befriend a random person in the middle of nowhere and just work your way, make new friends, work together, do things the right way. Hey, there's a thing over there. Let's go take that out. That's what people are looking for. But on the other hand, some people just like to kill others. They like to bully people. They'll take what you have because why would I go search for it if I can just kill you and take it off you? They're thinking about efficiency. And even though that's a play style, it's coming from a very real place, because that shows how you would think about another situation if the conditions were the same as a match in Arc Raiders. And the interesting part is that the game itself doesn't make you take those paths. It just shows you the difference between the people that play them. And the thing is, in Arc Raiders, there's nothing that governs the way that you play the game. Obviously, there's things inside the mechanics that you want to work towards. There's loot you need to get. You've got to work on your skill trees, all these sorts of things. But how you achieve that is kind of up to you. And so a lot of people see this game as an opportunity to be their most ideal self. This is the person you would be if the world was anything like this, where there was nothing above you whatsoever making sure you have to behave a certain way. Would you choose to do the right thing if it was just simply something you could do without any reward or any punishment, none of that? Would you just choose to do the right thing? And a surprising amount of people wouldn't. Now, I've got to make it clear that I'm not saying that the way you play this game is good or bad. PvP is fun. PvE is also fun, and how you obtain that fun is okay. This video is not that serious. I'm not here to say that you're a bad person or anything like that. It's just a nice little psychological analysis of the thing that we love, which is gaming, and how it affects the people that play them. And it's also a nice little exploration of what it means for us and who we are when we play the games we do. Why do we love the games that we play? Like, we can go even deeper on it. Let's split their hairs a little bit here. You see these PvP players that go into Arc Raiders and they just want to kill people and bully them and loot them and all these sorts of things. I wonder what other games you play, because it would be interesting if the only other game you played from Arc Raiders is Call of Duty, for example. Do you keep that in the same line? Because I can't imagine someone that's addicted to Arc Raiders PvP is going to go boot up Kingdom Hearts because they want to feel wholesome and nice. I think they would make other choices. So even if you zoom out from the game, what I'm trying to say is you might be able to see that this person is genuinely that way, because they're going to go from Arc Raiders being a menace to society, then they're going to go into Call of Duty and they're also going to be a menace in Warzone or whatever it is that they play, or they go to another PvP game and they might just exclusively play PvP games because that's kind of the chaos and the thing that they want to do. Whereas I'd be interested to see, on the other hand, if people who just play PvE games, I wonder what other games they play. They're probably booting up a nice little wholesome campaign game, or some little cozy game perhaps, or maybe just something that's not as extreme. And I think there are two completely different types of audience and two different types of people and players that are finding themselves inside Arc Raiders. And that's the thing that's amazing to me. Like, this is the thought experiment of a lifetime here, because there's no one particular type of person. Someone could really love playing cozy games and also love the idea of Arc Raiders because the community they've seen loves to play it the peaceful way. Whereas unlike something like Call of Duty, for example, you're a fan of a very specific type of game and it's for a specific type of player, and not everybody wants to play a multiplayer game like Call of Duty, for example. But here, everybody's in Arc Raiders, and this is amazing. I would love to just build a giant set and make a post-apocalyptic arena and put everyone in there and just leave them. Like, I'll get like 2,000, 3,000 people, and I'll scatter them everywhere and just like leave them for like 6 months and just see what ends up happening. And these games give you that opportunity to be your ideal self. And that's also pretty interesting because in real life, we are never going to truly achieve that feeling. There's always something or someone above you. In real life, you are forced to compromise on the choice that you would have to make because of the laws and the repercussions of your choice in everyday life. Yes, I could just take the thing that I want from that guy because it would be easier. Or I could just go work for it and obtain it the normal way, but one's easier than the other. And so the compromise is choosing not to take the thing and rather go and work for the thing you want in real life instead. Those are the compromises we make. But the simulation doesn't force you to compromise. There are no tangible consequences. And it's about the interplay between something that is as tangible as reality and something intangible as a game or a simulation, and how people like to mix the two and use one to judge the other. For example, it's when like a really famous person who has a history of doing bad things suddenly comes out of the hay and they're like, oh, I'm the most pious Christian or whatever, I'm the most religious person. That is because they feel like they don't have to be accountable for their actions if they are given forgiveness by a being that is much higher than man. So there's an interplay between what you believe, what the simulation tells you, and how reality works. So you can be exactly who you are in a game and nobody would be any wiser, because when you step out into the world and you go touch some grass, you have to wear that mask. You can't make those decisions. Maybe you can't speak out of turn the way you do in the lobby. Maybe you can't troll people and do that in real life because you'd get arrested. So when given the opportunity to be that person, who are you choosing to be? And what I'm trying to say in all honesty here is I don't think you're a bad person if you like to play PvP or if you're a PvP only type of player. The debate is not whether PvP is a bad thing and there's a specific type of way to play. But there are patterns that you can derive from the choices that these people make. For example, it's deriving the pleasure from griefing others, from trolling others, being able to show that power dynamic and bully people to get what you want, dominating complete and utter strangers because they don't know who you are. It does say something. The patterns say something deep down. Because I cannot imagine some happy-go-lucky individual just going around making bad choices, but they're secretly a good person. Like, that juxtaposition doesn't make sense. And so the bigger idea here is that games are a rehearsal space for who we actually are. What you practice in the simulation is what you reinforce in your everyday life. I've got another video on this channel why I think that gamers are both different. And in that video, I talk about how playing games reinforces the habits you need to become the most successful person in the world. But it also works in the opposite way. And I think that's a good way of understanding whether an idea is good or not, is can it work in both directions? Whereas you could reinforce within your practice the habits and the abilities of success, but you could also reinforce the habits of sin and something bad and being an overall terrible human being potentially. And so this is not necessarily an Arc Raiders discussion, although I think it's a good platform for the discussion, but it's really about the identity of the people who play these games. And so like I said to you, none of this really matters. This is not a tangible thing. Nothing that I've said in this video really means anything in the grand scheme of things. It's not going to do anything really, but just maybe the next time you hop in the lobby, you kind of wonder to yourself, am I being who I actually am, or is this who I wish I was? Maybe it makes you think about your choices a little bit deeper, especially if there's other people involved, because the game doesn't really care, but maybe you should. Also, just a little side note, I've started a little thing called The Lobby, and for now it's an emailing list, and I'd really appreciate it if you go hop on over there and subscribe to it, because it's the fastest way that I can communicate with you guys, and we might be able to actually interact in a better way, because it's a lot quicker for me to send an email than it is for me to make a whole video and record and edit and what have you. So through some of the emails that I'll be sending, you'll get an idea of what I'm going to be posting ahead. And I also want to find opportunities for us to do really cool things together that's a lot bigger than watching a video on YouTube. So I have a lot of visions and ideas for where I want the lobby to go. But you guys are going to dictate that, and it depends on how much support we get, and we'll see how it goes. But I do have plans, and it's not just another email thing, although I'd really like for it to be something that you look forward to when I send you an email, because then at least there's one thing in your inbox that's actually worth reading, and I'd like to be that for you. So please, if you have a couple minutes, check it out and throw in your email address, and I would really appreciate that. Thank you.